In Shadow, A Modern Odyssey is an animated short film by Lubomir Arsov. It appeared on YouTube in late 2017 and remains one of the greatest representations of this shadow world we've found ourselves in. This film is an almost perfect representation of the process we have been going through. We have plugged into the earthly simulation of consciousness to observe the shadows of our innermost projected on the outside to rise into the light. This is the message of In Shadow. Let me explain. A central theme to the film is the cube, used as a symbol for a containment field. Of what's called the Platonic solids, Plato assigned the cube to represent Earth. He wrote, "To Earth, then, let us assign the cubic form, for Earth is the most plastic of all bodies." It is because the Earth as we know it has been a charade, has been a reflection of cubed consciousness. This is why the cube has been a pervasive symbol. It reflects to us our own cubed consciousness, as seen by the many black cubes scattered across the world, most notably the one in Mecca, the one in Judaism used within the tefillin, and there are many movies which utilize the cube as a plot device. Plato and the ancient Gnostics thought the world was a counterfeit created by an ignorant and flawed god known as the Demiurge. The narrative goes, the Demiurge trapped our spirits in this false reality, and it was up to us to free ourselves from it. This material world is Maya, illusion. But this illusion hasn't been the result of an external deity inflicting imprisonment. The Demiurge represents the collective shadow, the unresolved aspects of the living souls, which manifested as a matrix. Consciousness can only ever be directed through one's inner and energetic consent. The point of our world of cubed consciousness has been to reflect the rigid, binary, and fragmented ways of ourselves that we must shed if we are to fully realize unity and just be. That's why broken apart, the word cube says C-U-B. When we can just be in ourselves with the gifts that lie behind the self-imposed illusion, we break out of the cube. We begin in Shadow by zooming into a cubed Earth. We find a central pillar within a megacity, appearing as the source of cubed energy. Cloaked figures are worshipping the cube. This is the worship of all things left-brained and bureaucratic, leaving out the nourishing breath of nurture, the true feminine. And the coming scenes depict exactly what type of inner and outer environment this creates. The cube flies by a crowd of beings. The first man it flies to has a hole in his heart. Images are shown of people in a state of bondage and equally of compliance, stacked on top of each other as they perform their mindless work tasks. These are the faces of repression. Materialism is highlighted as a mind prison. We are shown beings clinging in a state of hypnotism to a car, a house, to phones, to their jobs, as their heads break away what looks like black glass. The time keeps turning on loop as people engage in a work lifestyle that requires full inversion, hence the upside-down people. It's required to tear out one's own heart to sustain such inversion. We are revealed a creepy mask imposed on TV characters. This mask signifies the persona that many have felt they must wear during this purgatorial process. One of the Jungian archetypes, the persona, enables an individual to interrelate with their surrounding environment by reflecting a role that the individual is playing. But the persona is a mask which hides the true feelings, perspectives, and depth of an individual. Before we go any further, remember, this film is displaying to us the environment we've been in. The word environment is like environmente. Viron refers to a virus, and mente, in Latin, means mind. We've been observing an inner mind virus, and that is the only reason our outer world has projected such inversion. However, the ending of this film reveals that ascension, transcendence, is the reason for this suffering. Masks are seen on partygoers drinking and on lovers in bed. A zoom in reveals that these lovers are akin to babies in the womb. We have been in the womb of the Matrix. This is why the word matrix comes from the French word for womb. The baby is hovering in a spirit realm and then snaps into the cubed reality where it is injected with vaccines. Scenes of students are shown alongside the energetic parasitism which a cubed consciousness sustains. Drugs, war, militarization, money, and death are emphasized as all being manifestations of the same parasitic force. The leaders and news anchors seen on the world stage are merely puppets with strings and are being fed their lines by dark entities, connecting them all to a hive mind portrayed by the black tubes running into the news anchors' heads. This is the hive mind of deceit, hence the persona mask reappears. Notice that these dark entities are shadows. This leads us to my very message, that what we have branded as dark has simply been an externalization of the collective shadow. Without consenting to illusion, these dark entities actually don't exist. They are akin to figments in a dream. All that glitters is not gold in this matrix. Sparkles give way to scenes of celebrities showing off their false perfection, and of entertainment, which reinforces this false perfection through illusory archetypes. An illusory archetype is an example of a certain person or way of being that is based upon self-trickery. Most archetypes we have witnessed around us have aimed to promote inauthenticity and external displays of dominance, or of personality quirks that stem from a disconnection to spirit. Humans are shown in mindless engagement on their smartphones, further promoting these illusory archetypes or personas. Children play video games, promoting bloodshed. Vanity is highlighted in the next scenes, with selfie taking and shopping bags. Behind these scenes are oil rigs and subsequently fire. This reveals the all-consuming nature of vanity, which extracts more than it gives. Vanity is a fire that eats us alive while promoting a great external image. This is strengthened with models who are flashed with obese forms. One extreme of consciousness leads to another extreme. This is duality. We have seen toxic forms of the masculine and feminine all around us. Hence, this next scene. The masculine and feminine, joined together in divine harmony, sustains abundance because the two are meant to merge in unification and therefore uphold their divine aspects. These are energies that reside in us. The divine feminine rules nurture, empathy, compassion, and receptivity, while the sacred masculine rules order, courage, strength, and boundary setting. The whole point of this process is to pair together these inner aspects and thus be revealed the great mystery of amor, of eternal love. This is shown at the end of this film, but let's continue. We are taken through more imagery of broken individuals who sustain and even promote personas, all enslaved to their own consent. We see enslaved animals used for body parts to feed an animalistic population, and next, the genetic modification of our produce. Following is a scene portraying sickness as an endless hall with cheap hospital beds. This is what illusion does. It makes us ill. And a population seeped in this illusion gravitates towards the chemical drugs and potions that are offered by the pharmaceutical industry as directed by scientism. The next scenes display the stale fruits of scientism, which is the notion that science has exclusive access to the truth, disregarding anything unseen or felt. Scientism categorizes life as a series of cold physical processes that has no inherent purpose and no wisdom. And we've all seen scientism play out. Even as the world has appeared to be getting sicker and sicker, the scientists are still upheld as the honorable masterminds of society and change. The system that is manifested, again, laces together ailments like drugs, money, and war. The natural world is depicted as being in conflict with the insatiable desires of the shadow-ruling forces, which wish to bind everything in its cubed paradigm. This is all about death culture, a culture which promotes death and scarcity, not life and abundance. Those who oppose this culture are seen transforming into prisoners. Let me make a note here. Opposition is not how we solve this situation. As cruel as this world may currently appear, nothing is as it truly seems. We must look behind the veil to discover the energetics at play. Opposition maintains that there is an enemy that must be smited in order for us to liberate ourselves. And while that may seem to be the case, it is truly the inner journey which ultimately propels us into a state of resolution. Starve the inner parasite, starve the outer parasite. This may be difficult to understand for those who have felt in bondage to the ill workings of the outer, but remember, you are a microcosm of the macrocosm. If you do not consent to opposition, then parasitism cannot wrap you up in an energy extraction game. Thus, the parasitism eats itself alive, and this is shown pretty soon in this film. The next scenes depict corrupt deals being made to uphold slavery, specifically in African and indigenous populations, where illusory archetypes have been most imposed. A black man and white man are seen choking each other. This represents duality, going against an opposing force, which is really the same thing as you, leading to suffering. But everybody remains silent because that has been the way of things. We ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and that signified our exit from paradise. You see what I'm saying? Eradicate duality, eradicate this construct. This duality is shown in the political sphere, where two sides pretend to argue as a tactic to keep those consenting to such illusion in bondage. It seems as if our leaders have been having a glorious time, wining and dining and socializing, and even giving into their perverse ways. Once again, the cubed ways of the world are emphasized. The next scene is a turning point. We see beings breaking down even more. Their bones are showing. The parasitism has been eating themselves from the inside out and the outside in, and those who were initially worshipping the cube have become cubed themselves, twisted and deformed, slaves to their own parasitism. This is the nature of parasitism. It cannot sustain itself and therefore crumbles during these end times. The beings shown are they themselves sick, hiding in a sphere of masks, nervously guarded by their military-industrial complex. Thus begins the breakdown of this consciousness. The so-called security of this matrix comes crashing down, shown by a thin house and a car falling over. Everything becomes engulfed in a sort of vortex wind as the masks fall apart and the entire illusion crashes on itself. No longer can inauthenticity reign supreme. This is what we've been waiting for. A scene shows a man's red cube breaking. The cube has served its purpose. Everything was all along just a reflection of aspects of the collective mind playing out in 3D to destroy itself. What a genius divine plan. This breakage and disillusion causes panic to all who have ignored themselves and thus the divine. As we've said many times, there are a finite number of game players here. The soulless beings of the Matrix are the masses. They are not waking up because they cannot wake up. These non-player characters are products of a secondary oversoul that developed due to our consciousness inverting through projecting the inner unconscious and subconscious outwardly instead of incorporating. So they are pieces of the collective human genetic memory that did not come from spirit into matter, but developed in matter through inverted spirit. Therefore, it's not a judgment, it is an immovable reality to say that most beings here don't have the capacity to break free from time and into the original design because they were never a part of the original design. Back to In Shadow. Everything is crumbling. A leader's suit breaks apart off him, exposing his vulnerable self. A banker is shown dead on the ground, stuffed with his own greed. Meanwhile, a masculine and feminine figure are withstanding this destruction. They are rising up towards a beckoning light. A burst of fire pours into the city, shattering the material. It is time for matter to merge with spirit. And any limitation, any contraction is expunged by expansion. The masculine is faced with the eyes of a dragon and faces this dragon through activating the heart, the 0 point. He is a living soul. This heart activation guides him upwards and above the soulless beings who remain trapped in the air. His material shell breaks off, revealing a light body. This is the light body activation of Ascension. The majestic divine feminine rises up to unify with the sacred masculine, and together they stand, sword in hand. Through this struggle, they have bridged together matter and spirit, earth and the heavens. Behind them is the tree of life. They have returned to the center, the tree of life being a symbol of the North Polar paradise, which all of our hearts are connected to. Disturbed faces are seen in a toroidal motion, funneling into the center point, the heart space. This is exactly what we've been saying on this channel, that the above and below are manifestations of an allocated heart essence, and at the end of this purgatorial experience, all energy that sustained parasitism shall be reincorporated into the heart, giving way to a new birth. This is why a baby is formed through this merging, representing the start of a new age, a golden age of expansion, the rebirth of Christ consciousness. This video ends with eyes opening. Now our eyes are opened. This film displays what happens when we fall into a state of amnesia as to who we truly are. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is a quote by Carl Jung. It has much relevance to what we've been going through. In the Xbox Series X trailer, we are shown a black cube with a central emerald light glowing at the top. This references the Emerald Heart space, and thus the aurora at the center. The trailer involves an expanding golden halo after a burst of singularity. This golden light encodes the world, and we see video game images within the black cube. This is revealing that our world has been but a series of encoded messages and reflections from the all-nourishing light of the 0 point to return us back to the golden halo. Shadows shall transmute into halos. At the beginning of this film, we are shown 3 spheres. This reminds me of the 3 suns of the Dark Crystal series, in which when they merge, there is a great conjunction.
What's the great conjunction? You tell me.
The Great Conjunction is the end of the world! Oh, the beginning? End, begin, all the same, big change.
This great conjunction in the original Dark Crystal film signifies the Skeksis and Mystics, the 2 halves of the same entity coming together in order to finally ascend. Thank you for watching. Keep up the great work.